You're listening to The Talent Sink. The Talent Sink is a talent board and job sync collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink on how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Kevin Grossman and Leah Daniels. Today's topic is, where the heck are we really today with recruiting, hiring, and the economy? Enjoy the podcast. Leah, hello. How are you doing?
Hi, Kevin. Nice to see you.
Yes, and hear you.
Yes. How are you?
Well, I'm a little nasally, got a little allergy thing, but we had tons of rain in the west, and then now I've said everything's prematurely blooming now, and it never bodes well for my allergies. But I'm hanging in there. How about you? Are you in snow?
We had snow, and then actually I went down south this week, and it was colder in the south than it was in the north. So when I flew home,
South where?
I was in Tennessee. So then I flew north to Boston, and it was warmer when I landed than when I took off.
Well, there you go, right?
There we go.
That's all right.
That was a win right there. But I didn't bring enough warm winter coats for the weather in the south. I didn't plan ahead. Who knew?
I know, right? There you go. That's why I don't talk about weather a lot, even though it always comes up in conversation anytime you have a call or a meeting, depending on who you're talking to, because I'm in California. So our seasons are mild and mild, or our Armageddon rainfall. We actually do have some more rain coming in February. There's some, but not the atmospheric rivers, as they called them, that are coming then. Thank goodness. Hey, Leah, this is our second show that we're starting right now. We're super excited about this new podcast called The Talent Sink. And I just want to quickly tell everybody again that it's a collaborative podcast between us at Talent Board, myself, and you at Job Sync. And the fun part of the name, and then we'll dive into the rest of this, is that literally it's the kitchen sink of all things talent acquisition, how they should work together and how sometimes they don't. And recruiting, hiring, the kitchen sink.
All of it. And right now I feel like the market is the kitchen sink.
Oh gosh, isn't it though? But first, we're going to segue into that, because that is kind of the theme today is what the heck's really going on out there in recruiting, hiring, and the economy, and the whacked out stuff that we've been experiencing for the past 3 years. But real quick story, and then I know you have something to add on to it that will take us into the subject. But yesterday, at this time of this recording, at least yesterday, my wife and I are walking our dog, end of the day, place we always go to, not too, just down the street from us, walking across these railroad tracks, and there's a vacant lot near this spot where we were walking, and there's been a homeless camp that's popped up there for a while. It's a private property. I don't know who owns it, but that's not the point. The point is this: there was a man standing near the railroad tracks wearing jeans but no shirt, thin, older man, had a pickaxe on his shoulder. Now, that first caught my eye, and my wife didn't say anything, but I'm kind of like, okay, that's an easy feeling right now. This man, and his back's to us, and he's standing there with a pickaxe on his shoulder. And as we start walking by him, then I hear him say, "Wicked children who speak with wicked tongues," something like that, to that effect. And I'm like, that's time for a health safety check, as I call it. Like if we call the police department and say, need to do a health check on somebody. We have a homeless population in Santa Cruz. And because right at that same time, the charter school down the street was getting out of school. So there's students, middle school and high schoolers everywhere, parents picking them up all over the place. And he wasn't saying anything to us or anybody else, and he was kind of walking back towards his camp, but it was unsettling. So I called the non-emergency line, and they said, there's not a lot they can do unless he actually was assaulting someone because of the fact that he's on private property, but they'll check it out. And I appreciated that and understand how that all works. But it got me thinking again of not just the homeless problems that we deal with in it, but it's just the fact of just wellness in general and mental health, that for those of us who have kept it together, for the most part, the past 3 years have been tough, right? And as we segue back to the world of work from that story, I'll turn it over to you as we kind of get closer to our topic.
I think it's interesting because you're right. The last 3 years have been so taxing on everyone, and individuals, families, and in some ways we've been bolstered by the economy. People are getting paid more, new jobs, lots of opportunity. And so there's sort of this dichotomy that's been happening. And then, as you know, and as everyone else knows, that the last few months we went from all this optimism, some of which probably drove some of this hiring that was happening, and this what I would call talent hoarding. And now we're seeing these layoffs. And I got this note the other day from someone, and it said, I want to thank you. A few months back, you produced a blog. For those of you guys who don't know, I like to write, and I have a series around PTSD in your employees. And it's about how people come into jobs with past experiences. Not all of them were positive. And as leaders, you need to manage through those experiences. So anyway, this person I've worked with in the past wrote me this note and said, thank you for writing these. I went back, I just got laid off, and I just went back and read them. And it was really grounding for me to remember that some of the feelings that I'm having and the reactions I'm having have more to do with external things that are happening to me, and not so much just because I am who I am. It sort of got me thinking about a lot of what I'm seeing in the Twitterverse and in LinkedIn, where people are talking about not just that they're being laid off, but how they're being laid off, right? I'm on vacation and found out I got locked out of my computer. I've been here for 15 years and I got the thanks but no thanks letter. And, I think a lot of people are going to have a little PTSD as they come out of these experiences, and they're starting to raise their head up and say, okay, I still need to feed my family, and I still need to pay the bills, and I still need to put food on my table and heat my house. And I don't want to be badly treated again. So I think we're going to have a lot of people coming into this talent market with some cautious approaches on how they look at the market, how they think about things.
And probably, I agreed with that. And glad that you actually have been writing that series. I think a lot of younger workers, Gen Z, younger millennials that maybe haven't had a lot of experience with layoffs, unless they were part of the Great Recession layoffs back in 2008 and 9. But it's a little bit more rattling and shocking. For those of us who've been around for a while, unfortunately, like me, I remember in the .com heyday, I never had to execute or experience it on a very large employer basis. But a company that's what got me into the space, actually, recruiting technology company, maybe at the time we were just over 100. We were on a growth path, exciting matching algorithm technology. It was great. It's why I fell in love with recruiting too, because I did a little bit, but that's not the point. The point is that in the year 2000, things really started to blow up everywhere. And then 9/11 happened and, changed the world on a dramatic path that none of us could have foreseen at the time. And that was the end of a lot of business at that point. I mean, a lot of it, we know all the jokes. I still, for many years, I don't think I have it anymore. I had a Pets.com puppet that I had for many years. That was one of the famous demises. A lot of investment. But my point is, I was part of the senior leadership of this at the time of the startup and ran product marketing and some other things. And the leadership called us all into the room, including our HR, Mary Beth Kramer. She's a wonderful human being. I remember her, and said, we have to lay everybody off. And literally the word was everybody. And except for us, and then you all have to decide if you want to stay on board commission only. So obviously it was clear, a lot of cash had been burned through. So long story short, I mean, in a matter of just a couple of days, I had to meet with my team, and we had to meet with everybody in the company and let them go. Now we did it in that more of a human fashion. It wasn't just an email that went out or a text or whatever. Some of the stories you're seeing now, thank God. But it still sucked though.
Oh, it's the worst. I've been there too.
Time for a talent sync break.
Hey everybody, Kevin Grossman here, president of Talent Board and the Candidate Experience Awards. Our 2023 Candidate Experience Benchmark Research Program will open in January and run through August 31st. To learn more on how your organization can participate, go to thetalentboard.org.
Break time's over. Now back to the talent sync.
And unfortunately, regardless of what you say about tech and the talent hoarding, and, was it just 18 months ago, they were, paying huge amounts of bonuses just for signing bonuses for tech folks, right? Base pay went up, 150,000. I mean, and now we're here. And the latest number I just saw, Leah, is 200,000 so far since last year, 200,000 tech workers globally have been laid off. And there's more announcements that
I think
just
I
happened
saw
today.
a higher number than that too.
Well, maybe it is higher. The one I just read, because it was based on, I think that it was from the San Francisco Chronicle. They were talking about another slew of tech companies, IBM, who else? SAP, and some others that were laying off. You know, it's depressing when you think about it, because there's other things that we'll talk about in this episode too that are still positive things. It's a bizarre place, right? It's a place we've just never been before.
It's also a funny sort of number, right? Because 200,000, 300,000, whatever the number is, it's very personal to each of those individuals. But as an economy, we have 150 million workers in the US. And so I think there is a little bit of a hyperfixation on this particular group. Now, I'm not convinced that we're done yet, right? Because you're seeing other things happen in the economy, right? We're seeing inflation cool, yay, but that means consumer spending is also cooling. Not good, right? And so we're starting to see some other indicators that some of these companies may pull back. Now, some of the pulling back is really interesting to me too. I don't know if you saw McDonald's decided also to do a layoff. Don't worry, they've had record profits, record sales last year.
I didn't see that headline. I did. Yeah, I have a positive headline that's still in the food services that I'll tell you after you're done. But
I like that. But why? Because they're trying to increase shareholder value, right? We're seeing Chevron do the buyback. So we're starting to see these companies who are in fact actually contributing to the problem, which is not great, right? It's not a great feeling when you look around and say, we're all in this together, and realize maybe we aren't all in this together so much. But, you know, as we come out of the winter months, you know, we are seeing some really interesting data coming off of still open jobs are really high, right? We still have lots of companies hiring. I talk to companies all the time. You talk to companies, Kevin, right? And you find out, like they say, I can't find enough people. I literally can't find them. Where are they? And it's because despite this hyper fixation on sort of a singular market, we actually are still in a situation where we have nearly 10 million open jobs, and we need people to do the work.
And I didn't actually find an updated number on this, but it's still between 2.5 to 3 million people that have still never returned to the workforce. Mostly hourly folks, according to what I've researched and read and have heard about, which is adding to that conundrum of, you know, jobs not being filled across sectors. Although the latest, when I was looking at the BLS numbers before the show, retail and some other, and construction's down. Housing's a whole nother story too, but retail and some other segments that have a big hourly population were up. Chipotle Grill, is going to hire 15,000 workers coming up soon, which I just read. I mean, we know that the hiring ebbs and flows, and it does, and the world of business is a beast, and it does what it does. I mean, but it's the unfortunate optics. I mean, you'd think that companies, we've seen this happen over and over again, that there's a much better way to do this. And, you know, just like the little news bits that I saw when Microsoft held that private concert for executives in Davos, and the night before they laid off 10,000 people. Which is just like, this is recently. And I'm like, come on, folks. I don't understand. But anyway, but we're not trying to solve that here. There is this tapestry, though, of strange things that are happening. And you're right about consumer. It was still fairly strong through December, although consumer spending is still, it's down a little bit. Inflation's down, but still high. And you're right about hiring. There's still a lot of positions open. Even the companies that are laying off, they have thousands of positions open, which is kind of another situation too, right? And we're not going to solve that.
I think there's an element there which you sort of talked about a minute ago, which is I think a lot of this is there's this duality of the rising cost of certain tech talent, right? I saw somewhere the other day I'm not sure if this is true. The average comp over at Google is around $300,000 a year. You've got these very high salaries. And these are companies looking at this going, well, I have a pay transparency problem. I'm tying it all together, Kevin. I have a pay transparency problem.
Which was our first episode.
I know, right? It's like, I can't get away from it.
No, but because everything's intertwined, of course. So
Right. You got to pay for a whole bunch of your folks who maybe you weren't paying the right amount to, right? Especially in your hourly workforce and your mid-market workforce. So now you're watching the money move around inside the company itself. At least that's my theory. I could be wrong, right? No one really consults me on this.
but you know your stuff. But I mean, I think that's true. I mean, there's a lot of reasons under the hood, right? Of any large, complex, or even smaller business of why they do the things they do and what their revenue is like versus expenses, and the list goes on of when you really start digging into. But it still affects humans all across the board. And going back to your point about, what we've all gone through the past 3 years in regards to pandemic and continuing social unrest and a war halfway around the world now, if that's been going for the past year, the inordinate amount of gun violence we still see in this country. And that's not what we're talking about today, but it's all stuff that is just continue to be shell shocked over and over again. And then you add this, but positive things. Besides Chipotle. Chipotle is yummy, by the way. Have you ever been to a Chipotle?
Yes, but you know what else is great about that is
that the food at Chipotle, it is great.
Well, it's delicious, but it's also, they pay above minimum wage, right? So as you're looking at the market, this is an attractive employer for a lot of the hourly workforce, which I think is a win, right? I think that's a good thing. I think what I worry about are when we see these things where the only openings are at a minimum wage, a federal minimum wage, which turns out to not be a livable wage, right? And so I'm really happy when you start seeing these companies who are hiring who can produce livable wages for the market.
Let me share. So we're doing this new monthly thing, Talent Board being a research organization and focusing on, which I'll touch on too, candidate experience and recruiting and hiring. But we're also doing a monthly pulse survey with companies. And the first one, we're still collecting some data, but we've got nearly 100 responses so far. So there'll be small pools of responses each month, but just kind of a quick hit indicator of what our Candy community and beyond is thinking, doing when it relates to their priorities, how they're getting work done, and then also their hiring status too. So what I thought was good, because we've been talking to our Candy community. We just had our first meeting in January, and for across some industries, definitely things are holding okay. They haven't had any layoffs on their teams, although we know that's been happening more with recruiting, unfortunately, taking the hit. And also, before I talk about the indicator, in our own space, again, there's definitely been recruiting tech player layoffs too. And I'm sure you've heard them. And I just heard about some other ones that have been occurring. And so it's unfortunate when it happens at all. But everybody is hitting the brakes, though. Although this indicator, when we ask them, what is your current hiring status right now? And we'll do this monthly. 81% said that they're hiring out of the responses we received so far. That's great. Yeah. And only 5% said they're laying off, and 12% said they've frozen hiring. So we'll just see how that changes over time. I mean, there's a lot of data out there, but this is our own little indicator. But that was good. It was positive to see that 5% said they're redeploying employees as well.
I'm happier to see that than we're laying off and we still have 10,000 openings.
The majority of hires that they're making are telling us are professional hires. And then there's some management and hourly, but that's just a couple of hits from that. And the last thing, and then I'll let you go. 65% of them said that they're not decreasing the size of their recruiting team. There's no change.
That's also positive. I was thinking about sort of the marriage of, we are seeing these layoffs, and recruiters oftentimes get tied into it, right? Because if you're eliminating a section of the business, you don't need to recruit for it any longer. What I was thinking about is that I love when recruiters go through the candidate experience themselves. So I think that they are able to bring a really great perspective to companies when they get through that hiring process. And so one of the things that's nice about, it's not nice, but it's like a positive, is that you have this opportunity for recruiters to reacquaint themselves with the hiring process and what it's really like on the other side. Because I do think we can become a little bit separate from it, and we forget that the hiring experience isn't the process of just your company. It's actually the process of many companies simultaneously. and how a candidate is balancing all of those things while trying to figure out what's the best thing for themselves and their family and the right fit. And what I read the other day, the culture vibe, I guess that's a new word, and just getting it all right. And I think that there's this opportunity when recruiters go into the market to be able to come into a company with a fresh set of eyes on what their candidate experience really is like, and hopefully to improve it.
Did you say culture vibe?
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you just make that up?
No, I saw it the other day. I stole it. I didn't make that one up. Yeah, that's the new word.
Well, it was around that same lines. What was interesting in our research data that's all now available from the 2022 data set is that company values has always been a priority for candidates, internal and external, whether they're researching or they're currently still working there. It was always been up there on the list, but it shot way up. It to the number one slot when what we measure as marketing content that they're consuming prior to applying for a job. 109% it shot up. So values, I think it goes hand in hand with a lot of the existential crises that a lot of us have been through the past 3 years. Where do we really want to work? The thing that's disheartening, though, and just because of the fact that we've done this research now for over 11 years, going over 11 years now, that a lot of TA folks that we have known in our community and conversations that I had, and this is more anecdotal than anything, because we measure job type in our research, but not specific job titles. But I know that the TA folks have had horrible experiences the past 12 to 18 months trying to find another job. And the things that they know that they learned from Talent Board, or they were from a high rated company in our research overall, and they're out and they're experiencing the same crap that we all complain about as job candidates all the time. I never hear back from them again. Weeks and months go by, no feedback, no definitive closure and loops. I mean, the list, and it's for some of the folks I had conversation with, it was quite shocking for them. They're just like, I can't believe how bad it is. And these are my peers, right?
Time for a Talent Sync break.
Hi, Talent Sync listeners. I just wanted to share a bit about JobSync with you all. JobSync helps companies get more quality candidates out of their job board advertising and automates a variety of manual recruitment tasks by solving for the very low conversion rate challenges most companies experience on their career site. JobSync integrates your entire application, including all of your questions, directly into the various job boards' quick apply processes, providing you with fully completed applications directly into your ATS and resulting in 2 to 5 times more candidates while dropping your cost per application by half. This helps return up to 10 hours a week back into your recruiter's time through custom automations that are based on your business-specific recruiting processes. JobSync works with most major ATSs like Workday, SuccessFactors, and Taleo, CRMs, programmatic platforms, and job boards like Indeed and Zip. You can check out jobsync.com to learn more.
Break time's over. Now back to the Talent Sync.
And people, right, this is a small world. It's a small community. Like today, you're on one side and they're on the other, but it's very possible you fast forward in 3 years and those tables have turned. And now everybody's on the other side of the table. It is interesting. Kevin, I don't know if you know this. I have this theory internally around we as talent folks have taken this idea that we were supposed to Amazonify our recruiting experience. Have we talked about this before?
We talked about it a little bit, but it and by the way, it is prevalent because they feel the pressure from job candidates to do that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So I just put out a white paper about this because I think we got it all wrong. I think we misread what Amazonifying means. I think we all think it means to make the candidate's clicking experience really quick, really simple. Like, already know who you are and you've applied. Yay.
It's part of it.
It's a little part of it, but I think the bigger one is I want my package in 2 days, Kevin. I want that package to show up. I want you to close the loop.
Yes, it's the timeliness within the steps, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where we still haven't gotten that back half right. I mean, you talk about it all the time, right? You got to close the loop.
No, and we haven't. Our data still shows that. I mean, the highest rated companies in our research, those that are they're still not doing everything right all the time, but they're doing more of it right more of the time, including more timely loops. I mean, like for example, one of the things that we were just doing a deeper dive for a company recently, the time between or getting an interview within 1 month after applying. Only 33% of our candidates in North America, and it might be a little bit higher in some of the other regions, but still lower than what we'd like to see. 33% got an interview, they told us, within a month after applying. The Candy winners, that jumps it to 50%. That's a big increase, but it's still only 50% of the candidates. And now that's a lot of different job types under the hood, right?
Sure, but a month.
Within a month to get the first interview. And yeah, so there's always still a lot of work to do, but as we kind of round out this particular episode, I'm not trying to can't solve all the issues, but it's still, unemployment's still really low. Inflation is coming down, but still high. The GDP actually fared better based on what I read at the end of this last year, the gross domestic product. And layoffs are happening, but hiring is still strong. And we have the debt ceiling governmental issue that's already affecting things that we worry about, and that what may or may not happen, right? Plus the war halfway around the world. But so it's a place we've never been before. I don't know. What do you think? I hate doing crystal ball stuff, right? I hate doing crystal ball stuff. But
Here's what I know, Kevin. Congress is focused on quoting Taylor Swift. That's what happened this week.
I did.
They're not focused on the debt ceiling or negotiating that.
I saw that exactly. But besides, you've got your customers. I think we're definitely seeing a constriction with our own immediate, employers. They still feel they're cautiously optimistic, but the recruiting tech providers are feeling it though.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of categories we have to pay attention to, right? So the first, and I think the biggest, not even category, but sort of mental model you need to remember is that most of us talking have a white collar bias to begin with. And so
guilty as charged.
Yep. We feel it It's there are community, there are people, there are colleagues. And so while we're paying attention to these numbers in the tech space in particular, and even, some of the other places where we're seeing layoffs, we're feeling it disproportionate to the reality of the marketing and what's happening in our economy. I think the second thing to keep in mind is as we come out of January, we're going to move right into the spring high volume hiring season. As a economy, have lots of moments where we tick up in our hiring practices, and the spring is one of them, right? So we see house painters and lawn people and construction, all of that sort of kicks back into gear. Even if construction is lower than it has been previously, it's still higher than it is right now. So we're going to see a bunch of things just happen because that's the natural cycle of things in our economy. And I think the last thing that's really important for all of us to keep in perspective of all of this is that we are still, as a baseline, hiring across the board. And so we still see lots of companies hiring in healthcare, even in technology, right? But I do think the headlines are a little bit amped up and they get us all worried about things. I should say one more thing too, Kevin. We have something else that's happening in the market that I think is hard for people to put their finger on, which is some of these tech company layoffs are actually startup VCs that got over their skis.
Oh, totally. Oh, absolutely. You're right. It is over the skis. Besides the big names that get a lot of media attention, there is a lot of that going on too. And again, this is what happens in the beast of business still, no matter what the world looks like at the end of the day. So yes.
Yep. And I think these are a reset, right? Unfortunately, they're happening kind of all at once, but this is actually really important because in my mind, I don't know if I've talked about this, but I think all these tech layoffs, some portion of them are going to become entrepreneurs. And it's really important for these VCs to get their current portfolios under control so they're not doing CPR, so they can pay attention to the new things coming out of the market, and we can start seeing some of the seed money flow in, and we can start seeing some round A's go into companies and get that market innovation back up. We're in an opportune time for that because we have this tech talent that has exited the market. They are looking for jobs. Some of them are going to really get disenfranchised with the process. Some of them are going to go make new technology in their respective spaces, but some of them are going to try to make some new technology in our space because they're not going to be happy with the process. So I think if we can get all this sorted in the next, let's call it 12 months, I think there's a lot of innovation that we're going to see soon, which I'm excited about.
There was last year, according to George LaRocque's work that he does. I don't know if you know George or not, but
I do. We were both ex-Bullhorn people.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And George, good people. I've known him for a long time. Last year, $13 billion was invested in work tech. Now that's recruiting tech's a segment of that overall. But I mean, I think that it's a lot harder to raise money right now. But I hear from startup founders that there is still movement, and especially and even in recruiting technology. But the last thing I'll say, but then we definitely need to wrap this episode, because you and me, we could talk for hours, and I don't know if anybody wants to listen to us for hours, but
just us, Kevin, we'll be fine.
Just us, right? So the last thing is, out of all the things that we did discuss today, obviously what's close to my heart is we've got to do a better job at how we are treating our candidates and our employees at the end of the day. Yes, there are business realities that will happen, and you may have to let people go and reconfigure and reconstitute and all the things that happen in a business, big or small, across industries. But we've got to do better at that, and how we treat the job candidates and the employees, and just definitive communication and personable and human communication and closure in a timely fashion. And I know we can. I work with companies that are doing that, right? At the Candies. And
it's the human element, right? Don't send a candidate that's deep into the process an email that says, hey, we closed the rec. Call them. Right? Give them the benefit of the 30-second phone call to say, hey, I'm really sorry. The business has changed direction. We have closed the rec. It's the difference between maintaining a relationship with that human being and destroying one, right? That company's relationship. And so, same thing with your employees. I'm like, there's no one here who's excited about a layoff, but how you handle it and how human you make it is completely within your controls.
Absolutely. We control the dials of everything. And please don't use OpenAI to generate layoff letters.
Do not ChatGPT.
Do not use ChatGPT to do that at all. Well, listen, Leah, this has been another great episode. I think you and I are really enjoying having these conversations about our industry. And soon, in shows to come, we will definitely have guests, and that we'll bring in and have segments with as well. But it's been great. It's been a great discussion, and look forward to doing the next one after this.
Likewise. Nice to see you.
You too.
And talk to you.
Thanks for everybody very much for listening in, and we'll see you the next time on The Talent Sync.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Talent Board and Job Sync collaborative podcast production. More episodes soon.